I did think like their impact to me was I was really impressed. First of all, with probably mostly the front three of Correa, Llorente, and Suarez, but also the impact of Trippier and yet Carrasco was obvious too. I mean, Trippier also defensively was really good. I mean, he shut down he shut down Asensio pretty well, and even though Vinicius had a better game, he also had a couple of really nice tackles, and Vinicius too. But one of the themes that Jose and I were discussing in the pre-game podcast is this idea that Trippier is the Llorente launcher of sorts. Is that's the way that Jose worded it, and kind of unlocks Trippier, unlocks Llorente to play a little bit higher up the pitch, kind of do his thing, so he's not pinned like he was against Chelsea, for example, right? And I think maybe and by the way, Vasquez actually did a pretty good job defending Carrasco on that side, individually anyway. But Carrasco had a certain bite to him, and so did everybody else at Atletico. And that, like, we can talk about all the tactical things, which I think there was a gap between Diego Simeone and Zinedine Zidane tonight on a tactical level. There was also something else missing. There was also another gap, and I don't know what it is. It's a bit more intangible. It's like hunger or bite, something that I think Real Madrid just didn't have. Like, you saw the way Marcos Llorente was playing today. I don't know if it was you on my timeline or somebody else kind of talked about it as like a revenge tour for Llorente of sorts, of really wanting to prove himself against Real Madrid. And look, he's been proving himself to the entire league and the entire continent. But in that last derby, he was taken out of the game by Ferland Mendy. And in this game, he was just a beast. And that, like, the energy from him and Suarez and Carrasco and Correa, like, I just didn't think Real Madrid had anyone to match that. And Fede Valverde is an obvious choice to kind of combat that a little bit. But I thought it was a combination to me, Euan, of like the pressing, the passing, the crispness, the defending, the transition defending, all of the tactical things feeding into their energy, and their energy just kind of expounding and demoralizing Real Madrid to the point where, like, anytime they would get the ball and they had a chance to attack in transition, like, you get the ball to Asensio and Rodrigo and then boom, like, just vanished. They just lose it because Asensio or Rodrigo get the ball in transition and Atletico were just swarming them. Mendy maybe makes a run into the left half space, swarmed by 3-4 Atleti players. Kroos a couple times made that same run, and just like everybody just pounced on him and dispossessed him. And I think that actually got worse for Real Madrid after they conceded the goal. So it wasn't great before the goal conceded, but after the goal conceded, Atletico just locked in and doubled down on all that. And Real Madrid really struggled to get going. So do you feel like there was that kind of intangible hunger also, like, between the two teams? Something you could notice on the field?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think sometimes it's tempting to just view football as a chess match, a tactical thing, but there is that intangible there. It is a derby. It does feel different. Even something as simple as the weather. The match started off in the sun. It finished in the rain. It kind of changes the way players maybe go about things. It's not all just played out on tactics boards or whatever. If it is a chess game, then in a derby, maybe you have a bishop and it's supposed to take a knight. But in the derby, you don't just automatically get to take it. You have to go and actually just knock the knight off the board. You have to not just have the tactics right. You also have to have that little bit of muscle, that little bit of push to then execute. And I think we saw maybe the first, the Atletico goal, the Suarez goal. I think that was tactical more than anything else. There was just so much space, but all the chances that Atletico had after that, especially those that you mentioned at the start of the second half, if you go back and look at them, so many of those chances come from good, clever play from Atletico, but also just maybe a little bit more desire, a little bit more fight. There's the Correa chance, the really obvious one, which I actually have my doubts if he was onside. I don't know if it counts if they go and check that, because I think it was quite tight there. But the one where Correa just completely trips over himself, fluffs his lines, that's about the hour mark.
Yeah.
But, yeah. But that one there, that comes from, that's the second ball, and the second ball takes place in Real Madrid's penalty area, and it's Atletico who win that second ball and create the chance for Correa. The chance isn't supposed to be for Correa, but just that extra little bit of I don't know, not maybe desire, that's maybe the wrong word, but just the sort of intent and intensity of the game definitely plays a role, because on derbies it's more than just it's more than just the tactics, I think, especially when it's two teams that know each other so well, so many of the same characters from so many of these derbies. Even Suarez, this is, only his second Madrid derby, but how many times has he had tense, niggly, feisty games with Real Madrid? We saw him getting into an argument with Lucas Vazquez before half time. These are players that know each other, that know they're fighting for titles, and you have to just kind of maybe get a little bit more stuck in than some of the Real Madrid players did, at least in the first hour, I'd say.
Well, and plus when you have to combat that with Asensio, who we've talked so much about, like you just really don't know. Sometimes you just don't notice them on the field, and today was one of those days. And I always said, like, there were a few games that Real Madrid put together here that they've gotten results, and they've done it without Carvajal and Ramos, and Nacho and Varane have been fine. But I did always say, like, there's going to be a test when, like, you face a team that really knows what they're doing. They're organized, they're feisty, they put pressure on you. The lack of leadership will show in those games, and maybe not so much in the other games. And I thought, like, naturally, when you need to have characters in this game on your team, when you already miss Carvajal and Ramos, then you really, really miss them big time when you don't really have anyone else in the team kind of stepping to the mantle. And again, like, we're just talking about, like, we're not even talking about tactics right now, but we're just talking about, like, Fede and Vinicius fit that profile too. Like, Vinicius is the one, like, again, he's inefficient. We know that. We're not saying he's this efficient goal-scoring machine, but we're just saying, like, he fights and you notice him and he just does things, and he might stumble his way off around the field, but you kind of notice him. And you notice him in Fede just infinitely more than you notice Asensio and Rodrigo. And again, I think Rodrigo's been having a good season, but today I think it was the combination of the fire that he was thrown into, plus he's not match fit, and he just looked a little bit off. Let's talk about Atleti's goal, because that came pretty early. That came in the 15th minute. Can you break down that play for